introduce Heather Lewis. She's our district internal auditor. She's from Marvin and Company. This is the first time, as we mentioned in the Friday report, for the internal auditor to actually present to the audit committee. We had the external auditor present once every year, and we thought it would be a great idea to have the internal auditor as well. Marvin and Company is new to Troy as of this report. We did go off for an RFP, about a year and a half ago maybe, for internal audit services. Marvin and Company was the lowest responsible bidder, and they've since issued the report, and so we're here to just go over the process and any other recommendations. So with that, give it to Heather.
Okay, is this into trigger? So you've engaged us to perform your internal audit, and the internal audit you need to have done annually, and the requirements are under the school financial oversight and accountability legislation that came out in 2005. So what you're required to have done is an annual risk assessment, and then you also are required to have a transaction area tested annually, at least one. Those are the requirements under the state law. So we have come in and performed our risk assessment on the 17-18 school year. So the risk assessment was performed about April timeframe of last year, and being the first year, a little bit more intensive for your staff. And what we do is we ask a bunch of questions, we interview people, and we look at documentation to see if what they're telling us is accurate and appropriately documented or either not documented. And then we gather all that information and we come up with this risk assessment. So the risk assessment goes through, it tells you what the potential risks are, if there are any compensating controls, so controls that might prevent or detect a misstatement of some sort. And then it lets you know what our recommended changes are, as well as what our recommended internal audit response is. My understanding is you may not have received a report like this in the past, so it is detailed and there's a lot of information in there. I'm not going to go through each one of the findings. I had already met with the board president and vice president and superintendent. We kind of went through it because it was the first time really seeing a lot of this information. So while there are a lot of recommendations in here, I think you've responded to them.
And we responded with a corrective action plan, but quite a bit of the recommendations were tied to our financial software and who had access to different parts of it. And so when we changed our financial software this past year, a lot of that was corrected, which was really actually brought to our attention by Heather. We had changed softwares back in 2015, and there was a big rush to get that implemented, and then a lot of people still had access to parts of it that they shouldn't have had access to. So that is all locked down right now, and if you have access to cash, you don't have access to create an employee, things like that.
Will we be able to see, like, based off of her recommendations, can you give us the corrective actions that was taken by the, okay.
You have a corrective action plan. Some are already completed, but the whole plan was given in the Friday report. It's quite extensive. So you can read, we have to do it in a certain format because we have to upload this right to the state. So it'll say the finding or the recommendation, who's responsible, and then what we think we can do. I just do want to say that, this is a risk assessment. It's not an audit of our financial statements. It's a risk assessment. And some of the recommendations, we may make a total change, and in others we may really not change at all. We just have to know that the risk is there.
Right, my responsibility is to bring that risk to your attention, and then it would be up to you on how you want to respond to it. In some cases you might say, we're not doing that. We believe that the risk is minimal, so we don't believe there's anything that needs to be implemented in that area. And that's completely up to you guys. Our responsibility is really just to bring it to your attention so that you are aware that there are potential risks out there.
Okay. Risks can vary from the minor to the major to the serious. Did you see anything serious?
I think the biggest thing was just the access levels within the software. As Adam had mentioned, they were transitioning while we were here. So really you can have the best controls in place, but if behind the scenes everyone has access to do everything, the controls in place don't really function properly. So that's really where we felt the biggest risk was. back out for 18-19, we'll evaluate where the districts stand on these items. And then we'll be able to report back if they've corrected them, if there might still need to be minor tweaks or,
Okay.
if things are good.
Well, there'll probably always be something.
There typically is always something, yes, yes.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
One is, who gets to view the, not gets to, who has access to view the bank accounts online? Does anybody?
Yes. So right now, just to view or to, the question was to view or to make changes, because those are two different things.
They are
sometimes.
two different things, but I just, like, opening the bank statements, having, who has oversight of them, I just, if you can access things online anyway, then the paper becomes kind of irrelevant to the situation, because you know that you're not overdrawn because you can look at the accounts as needed. So I just was, maybe nobody has access to view them.
No, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, we have access to view. A lot of the banking functions have secondary approvals.
Mhm.
So, for example, Sam can't go in and wire money to herself. Everything would require me to go in and look at it and approve it. That's one level. It is important to have someone open the bank statements for other reasons. Just in case someone deposited something into, say, a different account that we're not aware of. All those things are important. There's multiple parts of her report about who opens the mail, who deposits a check, who has access to the bank account that we went over, and to make sure we have complete segregation of duties. The one good part about being as large as we are is we have enough people to segregate those duties versus, say, like a smaller
Another
school.
question I had, sometimes when you don't have enough people in your department, that's when you start to just wing it and.
Right, and then there are risks, and sometimes districts say, well, we have 2 people working in the business office, that's the risk we take. One of the recommendations right off the top of my head was or we have my secretary do all the deposits now. Before we had the person that did have bank control doing deposits, and you want to separate that. So there were a lot of great recommendations. The board used it as a tool to segregate a lot of the duties. So that's really the purpose of the report, and we've done that already.
Okay.
Good follow-up.
I'm gonna go out of it right now at work, so these things are spinning through my mind, and some of the things that I see in here, over time, they sound good, but sometimes realistically, they don't always work, but I'm glad you said that you're looking at them, and this is like a good starting point, you put things in, but you'll have to see how it really works as time goes on. I can tell you some things later.
I'm sure, yeah.
Because you don't want to knock yourself out over something that might not, in the end, be as helpful.
Agreed, and I think Heather and I have had some conversation about certain things. I mean, some are just,
Yeah.
you have to change it.
Yeah.
And others are, is there another way we can make this work, but like I said, I've been when I've worked in other organizations where we said we absolutely cannot do that, but most of these recommendations are pretty standard.
Yeah.
The one that I told her I disagree on is that extra class activity, which is a highly audited part of school finance because there's so much cash. The guide says to have a faculty auditor to essentially audit that work. Most schools, or I'd say probably at least half of schools don't have that because they say we don't need that. We're talking about small amounts of cash. We're not talking about millions that are flowing through that account. So I tend to disagree with that and say we really don't need it. She's got it in the report. That's what she's supposed to do because that's what the guidance says to do. So,
Yeah.
but that's an example of what I think you're talking about.
But it becomes more complicated than it needs to be.
Right. Whether the district wants to spend the money to have that position or live with the risk.
Yeah, it's great because so much is being organized.
We don't see a need for this.
I don't think the risk is worth creating another position for it. That's my recommendation, but if the board felt differently, then they could go forth and create it.
How many signatures are on the bank statement and how many actually sign for checks or disbursements of checks?
When we issue a check,
Yes. How many signatures are at the bank in case the other one is not able to sign? How many signatures are at the bank and how many are required to sign?
3 are approved signatures, the treasurer, the deputy treasurer, and then myself as a last resort. Right now, there's only 1 signature on the check.
And a check can be dispersed with a signature?
Yes.
Is that permissible?
But there are safeguards in place that the internal auditor has looked at about access to check stock, who can actually get on the system and print a check. So it takes multiple people to just issue a check.
I sign a check, but I can't put in a check. Like, I can't put in a payment. I don't have access to do that. But I sign. So, that's one of our safeguards.
I have a question for you. With all the recommendations you have here, is this the most that has been given to the district?
I would say no. It's gonna vary by district. You would expect there to be recommendations for sure. And in some cases, we're directed to look into certain areas. Like the next step would be you guys directing us into what area you'd like us to look at. So it's typical to have, a 10-page report, especially since you haven't had a formal report in the past.
We've had a report in the past, but it was extremely focused. And I felt that we should look at the whole picture and not just have one recommendation that I could make. I wanted to say, hey, let's look at the whole thing and see if we have to make any changes throughout all our processes.
Any other questions? So the next step will be for a transaction cycle to be selected. It can be based on the recommended responses, recommended areas we have in the report. It can be something completely different, whatever you guys choose. If there's an area that seems to be an area of concern that hasn't been looked at in a while, that would be an area to have us look at. And what we would do is we would get a further understanding. If we don't already have an understanding, we get a further understanding of that area. And then we would actually test. It really depends on what it is. If it's, if it is extra classroom or payroll, we'll actually test transactions. But if it's something different, like occasionally people want us to look at extra classroom yearbook sales, specifically advertising space. So it will be geared toward whatever area you're asking us to get a further understanding of.
So it could be some of the same things that were plus some other things.
Yeah, usually people don't pick what we recommend. Typically there's something, typically there's something that is in somebody's mind that they really just want us to look into. Because it's not on here, so they're thinking, okay, we haven't looked at that area yet, so let's dig into that area because we don't think anyone's looked at it. So that's a good place to start as well.
I can't recall if it was in a prior report, just a listing of different areas to consider. I believe it was attached, but if not, then we have it here.
You have copies?
Oh, we've got copies, so yeah.
When should we make the decision tonight? That's what we should look into?
I don't think it needs to be made tonight, it can be. Yeah, so I mean, we could definitely do it at a different time and.
Well, how long before you need the information to do it?
Thank you.
Like what we want to target?
It really, ideally, we'd like to be in here before the end of the school year, before the end of June 30th.
So if we make up our minds next month,
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
That's good.
And these are not, again, this is not a limitation of what, these are just some areas that we've looked at in the past for other districts, that tend to come up multiple times for districts, so, yeah. Whatever area, outside of that, we can look at as well.
Just looking at this list, I guess there are district credit cards, because I've seen one once. Who has credit cards? The district?
No individual is issued a credit card. We have district level credit cards that are housed in the purchasing office. They're signed out for varying uses. Some are for travel,
Yeah.
others are for on-demand items that, oh, we need this, and they have to run to the store to get it.
Okay, so we have a couple of places that are kept somewhere safe.
That's right.
How do we ever keep ticket sales for sporting events?
Oh, that's a big one.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
We have to issue-
Be at the gate on Friday night lights. I mean, be at the gate, you're for football.
Each person is issued a ticket. Each paying customer is issued a ticket, and that is supposed to reconcile at the end with all the cash that's collected. So there's a whole process that they then bring to the treasurer's office the next day.
So
for
you have
deposit.
a beginning number ticket and
That's
ending number
exactly
ticket?
right. That's exactly right. And it's like a cash box that is supposed to reconcile.
Yeah. I'll stop there.
I'll circle that one too, I'll circle that here, so.
No, that's ridiculous to have that.
I think we should maybe think about it, and then maybe the first meeting in April, you can come with your ideas. Does that give you enough time to get it done at the first meeting in April?
It's only a couple of weeks, so,
Right.
yeah. That's fair, that's fine. Did we discuss having an audit committee at one time? Aren't we supposed to have an audit committee?
I thought we
are.
We decided that the full board was the audit committee, but we could have a separate audit committee. I mean, we talked about that when we were talking about how they presented to us. It might be better to
But if
have
we,
a separate audit committee now that we have a policy committee and we have a couple of others.
well, because if it's the whole board, then we have to announce this as a public meeting.
Which we did tonight's closing.
Okay.
Right, but I mean, if we only have the audit, it could be like the policy committee where the group of us sit
Or
and do
before.
it. Yeah, and then.
I would make the extreme sacrifice of not being on it.
Me too.
Look at them, they're running. Okay, that will be the whole committee. We'll be the whole board, then we're all.
There you go.
Thanks, guys.
I would be on it.
Oh, you would?
You would, that's a yes.
That's her.
There's no doubt.
Matt,
Matt, you understood him? No.
were you shaking your head yes?
Actually, Ed's on the other one, I'll
He
do this
is.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, and then ask Elizabeth or Bill.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, because in that way there, we don't have to make it,
You will be quorum, yeah.
yeah.
So
I mean,
they'd be appointed at the reorg meeting.
But I,
You might have to be appointed before.
That's July.
yeah,
Yeah, well, can we do it before? We do it before. We can't wait till July.
You can do it before.
And then next year be reappointed.
Right, July.
I think that's a good idea.
okay, I would, I go along with sacrificing on it.
I mean, I already have the heavy burden of being field officer.
Yeah, I'm sure that works out heavy.
And you're on small
Small
cities and
cities
safe,
too?
safe schools?
Safe.
Safe schools?
It'll be fun. As soon as
Okay,
they
that's
say
fun,
so.
he says, that he doesn't consider that a job.
No, it's an adventure.
Okay.
Thank you, Heather, this is
Yeah.
very informative.
It's very
It is.
interesting,
I like the way you did that.
very interesting.
Or was it you?
He helped me.
Good job.
Good job.
We work as a team.
And I'll give Samantha all the credit in the world. She does a lot of work.
He said, it's this long? I have to read all this to fix it? Put it in things? All right.
Thank you, Heather, this
Thank
was,
you.
Yes, thank you
Very
for your work.
interesting. Very interesting.
so we see you again, what, next year?
Yeah,
I was hoping, our external would be every fall and our internal would be every spring, and that schedule would be nice. If we need more with an audit committee, if we need more, then we could meet more frequently, like the policy, if needed.
Yeah, at some point it still goes before the board.
Oh, yeah, it's still has to go to the board for
like next year we'll still have this, right? So all of us will
And
have,
the
okay,
representatives,
great.
but
All right,
in case you have
thank you
time.
so much.